Hello, I hope you're doing well. Welcome back to more Fortnite news, and as always, all of today's stories will be timestamped down below. Let's hop into our first one, though, which should be a brand new weapon coming with the next patch. It's been confirmed by loading screens this morning, guys. A silent sniper is right around the horizon. Apparently, if we're going to go off leak statistics as well, it will do 100 damage for the epic version, 105 damage for legendary version, which should mean a one-shot headshot if you do land it. So again, a lot of questions out there are soaring around as well. With balloons and a silent sniper, can you just soar up into the air and be a deadly assassin? Probably. It's going to kind of reunite that duo over there. Alongside that, it could be the brand new, of course, resurgence of the bush. Now, I can't see it. You're going to have a long barrel sticking out. Bushes do still have a really tough time of covering the entire body, to me, at least when I'm looking around. But it could be the resurgence of course, those deadly combos, guys. Balloon silent sniper, as well as a bush silent sniper. It should be sometime around this week. If not tomorrow's patch, guys, maybe next week's patch, we should see a brand new weapon into the game of Fortnite, which I do approve of so far. I would love to see how this plays out as well. It's finally a weapon that does not seem like it's going to be too OP, or hopefully not dropped in every crate that usually they do with new updates, but it should be fun to see how it plays out. And speaking of playing out, guys, we do have tennis trying to enter the game of Fortnite for the first time ever with the Australian Open. It's actually going to be a brand new tournament hosted by the Australian Open for $500,000. $400,000 of that will be for their pro tournament or their open qualifiers, actually. So not even a pro tournament. $400,000 for an open tournament over there, with $100,000 also for the pro-am event. It's going to be a charity event on top of that, which I assume will be invited pro players. In big news, though, that if people are not actually, of course, looking into the defined details, you must be a resident of Australia or New Zealand. So it's actually a huge event, and I'm not really sure we're going to see too many top-tier pros there. Imagine $500,000 going to pretty much a bunch of locals. I'm not really too aware of all the pro players who are from both those residencies, so we're going to see which Australian pro players and which New Zealand pro players will rise to the top here, guys. Open qualifiers, registrations do actually open up the 9th, and also really weird, the first 500 people to sign up will land their spot. Now, there's a set of rules. Of course, they can deny a lot of applicants out there. You must be 16 years old. You must be from those two countries. But besides that, though, the first 500 people to sign up will actually make the open qualifiers. There'll be 5 heats of 100 people, and the top 20 players from each heat will go to the grand finals, guys, for 100 people total, and it will be a $400,000 solo event with, on top of that, remember, guys, $100,000 for a separate pro-am charity event. So pretty crazy. You must be from New Zealand. You must be from Australia. I'm very curious where this will be broadcasted, viewership numbers, how they will go, and what pros are actually from this scene, or will we only see players we don't really know? And very lastly, and probably most importantly in this episode, guys, the talk of player unions has been soaring ever since Myth brought it up last week. Alongside that, other news outlets trying to cover this as well, because if you guys are not aware, many esports out there have their own player unions. It's actually Overwatch, their commissioner over there, Nate Nanzer. They actually are one esport who tried to avoid these unions, and that's because they actually guaranteed their players salaries of $50,000 plus per year, which is a great way to try and avoid player unions. Other esports out there do welcome them, or at least cannot really stop them like Overwatch did, so they did a great job by guaranteeing their players certain rights. Alongside that, CSGO or Counter-Strike actually does kind of a similar thing. A player union over there, kind of less known, actually tries to fight for up-and-comers, contract negotiations, try and get out of bad contracts or just not sign bad contracts. But this one seems to be preemptively aimed at fixing some of Epic issues. Now, we all know Epic in the past, and actually very recently in the past few months, has always been, or has seemingly been, a big fan of releasing game-changing updates on the day of big events. We've actually had Glider redeploy, we had planes, we had the sword, we had boom boxes. Those are just the ones I can think of at the top of my head right now. All game-changing updates, and some pretty bad updates on the day or a few days before a grand final event. So it seems that players like Myth want to get together and actually try and stop that. It was actually for competitive integrity as well as player treatment were the main two things that Myth wanted to target with the supposed player union. And like I said previously, it certainly depends on the esport that's actually being played out. Overwatch did a great way of guaranteeing their players some great things so they don't need to unionize. Alongside the games like Counter-Strike, they could certainly use more of a foundation, but they are, in the shadows. They're present to help those up-and-coming players. Games like League of Legends could certainly use them. We've seen some terrible contracts signed by League players, especially in the past 6 months, that kind of screwed those players over. It does seem, though, of any esport out there that would have the most say when it comes to competitive tournaments and how these players are treated, it seems like Fortnite would be the one. We've seen Epic kind of bend their will towards the community and what they want several times. Community saying a backlash about a weapon, and that weapon is then vaulted. If it's going to be any organizer out there or developer to respond to a player union, I would probably guess it would be Fortnite. So I'm going to be weary to see how this actually does work out. Other esports have failed to do so. Other esports just choose not to do so. But I'm very curious how this does work out, and if this will actually finally change the competitive scene, because like I said previously, we've seen so many grand final events, or within days of a grand final event, huge game-changing updates, when it comes to a game like, let's say, Counter-Strike, and a game-changing update is actually released, they play on different patches. So it was actually most recently a brand new weapon was introduced, the MP5 SD. It was a new weapon, could be a new meta, so therefore at the current tournaments for the next 2 to 3 weeks, they actually played on the previous patch without the new weapon. So if Fortnite could do that, right, it would make a lot of sense. Instead of at the winter finals or the summer skirmish finals introducing a brand new weapon, you play on an old patch without that weapon involved. It's certainly an idea. I'm not sure if Epic can pull it off, but congrats to Myth. Who's a better player probably to do it? I mean, there's probably plenty that you could name, but he also did start the Pro Scrim Discord server. So I definitely like the voice being out there. I'm excited to see if this actually comes to fruition, because other esports have had a very hard time actually solidifying a player union. But as always, hope you guys all enjoyed. Thank you for watching Fortnite News. Also this past weekend, guys, we broke 15,000 subscribers, and I cannot thank you all enough. I hope you guys all enjoy. As always, my name is Jake. I'll see you back here tomorrow or sometime soon, and I'll see you then.